Hey Alex, nice to see you
Wahab, thanks for having me.
for sure. How is Texas treating you right now?
It's good. It's starting to heat up. So we had our first few days of triple digits heat, over 100 degrees Fahrenheit last week.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's been good. It's been good. The season's heating up, and so is the weather here.
Nice, nice to hear a bit heating in Texas can get to a lot of heating, right?
Yeah, it will get hotter. I think here in a few weeks or a couple months, get over 110 degrees, and that's when things, your car starts to overheat. I could see rubber starting to melt outside, and at that point, you're just trying to stay inside and stay cool as much as possible.
Nice, nice. And how's it right now like San Antonio for you?
Yeah, it's been good. This is my first season here, so I've just been here 5 months now, but really enjoying it. The team, the club has been really welcomed and has been welcoming to me and and my family as well. So on the field, off the field, it's been a really great change for my career. And yeah, I'm enjoying getting to know this new group of guys, working with this new coaching staff, and continuing to elevate my game at this point in my career.
Mm. Yeah, sounds interesting. Like what I was also thinking about, you're a lot of years as a pro, and you grew up in Ohio and played in Maryland, and then turning to pro. How does this journey, if you're looking back, how would you describe it for the people who don't know you a bit? Give us a bit insight about your journey.
Yeah, well, looking back now, it's very interesting because it never goes the way that you envision or plan or dream as a child. Um, but if I told my 16-year-old self that, hey, you'll be going on your, ninth year as a professional, playing games in the MLS, playing games in the USL, I would take that in a heartbeat. Um, but yeah, I grew up in Ohio playing with the Columbus Crew Academy teams and played with them uh, youth through high school, and then I went off to play college at the University of Maryland and had success there. Won championships there. Was team captain, and and through that process, I was able to earn a homegrown contract with the Columbus Crew. Um, and I played 3 years in Columbus with the Crew and played in front of my family, in front of the hometown fans as a homegrown player, which was a really unique experience. And um, I didn't. I guess I didn't have the success in the MLS I would have liked to. I played nearly 40 games in the MLS, but was in and out of teams, sent on loan a few times. And once my contract was up in Columbus, I had opportunities to play in the USL in the second division in the US. So I took that opportunity, played for 5 years in Birmingham, Alabama with the Birmingham Legion. Um, Played a lot of games there, had a lot of success, grew as a player, and just this last off season, I made the move to San Antonio FC, and I've been here for, like I said, 5 months. We've gotten off to a really good start this year, and yeah, I'm enjoying the journey. It's crazy to say that this is my ninth year as a professional. I'm really blessed and grateful for the opportunity to go on this journey. But for me, it's just become, a part of me at this point. My life is um, training, trying to do my best performing in games, recovery, training, recovery, and then in the off season, go enjoy yourself, travel, spend time with family, and then back to the grind of training, um, recovery, trying to do my best in the games. And it's just this constant cycle and this process. But the more you play as a pro, the more you're able to figure out how your body works, how your mind works, the ways to set yourself up for success. And then, once you have the foundation, just continuing to build on it week after week, day after day. And then, you look back and you've been playing for nearly a decade. So it's been
mm,
a fun process.
mm. Yeah, like time flies. It's amazing like how long you're like a pro. And what is like one moment you're really proud of like during this year? Is there one specific moment where you are say, okay, this is one more moment in my career I'm really proud of?
Yeah, well, this season
No, like during the
or
whole
just
whole
in my whole career.
in your whole
Yeah, I
career.
mean, I'll never forget my debut back in 2017 with the Columbus Crew. I was a rookie playing behind some really good center backs, and it was maybe the third or fourth weekend of the year, and one of the center backs got injured. So on a Wednesday before a game on Saturday, the head coach brought me in and said, hey Alex, like you're going to get your debut this weekend. Like you're going to be starting um, at the center back, at the center of a three back, and we played away at DC United in Washington D.C. that weekend, and I had my debut. My family came and traveled to see the match. I played a great game. We won 2-0. I was man of the match. Um, you know, really solid defensively. Like I feel like I like blacked out during the game. Like I was just so focused on like, okay, this is my opportunity. I've been dreaming for this my whole life, and then to finally to go out there and play a game, and not only play a game but play really well and have the recognition as man of the match and like team of the week for that week. That was a moment where looking back now, I was kind of like, wow, we did it, right? Like all the work over the years was for a moment like that. And of course, it was just the beginning of my journey, but it's something I look back on to this day as a really cool moment.
Mhm. Yeah, and especially that like man of the match in your first debut. It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it was special.
What would you say about your biggest lesson during your career? Do you have like one or two lessons you learned over these years?
Yeah, I think um, going through moments of adversity where you're not picked by a coach, or a coach has doubted you, and early in my career during those moments I've let that affect me mentally, and I've gotten really down on myself during those times, and it's tough to perform well, and it's tough to train well when you don't have the confidence or the belief in yourself because you think the coach doesn't believe in you. And of course, when you don't have the belief in yourself, you're not going to be able to perform. And without being able to perform, you're never going to get the belief from the coach. So there have
Mhm.
been moments in my career where I've let that um, that affect me negatively, and instead of taking that as the challenge, I kind of got down on myself, and then through that, I wasn't able to perform as well as I would have liked, or maybe change the view of that coach. And looking back now, I think if I would have been able to maybe keep a more of a level head and continue to have that self belief and that self confidence in myself, um, I would have been able to progress more, because I think it's something I've learned over the years. I just um, hated when a coach or someone told me I wasn't good enough, you know.
Mhm.
And when I was younger, that would really affect me. And I think, now I've grown and I've kind of understood that the game of football is everyone has a different opinion about
Mhm.
every player, about every game. And just because one coach or one parent or one person doesn't like you as a player or doesn't think you played well, it doesn't define you. So it's really important to keep that self belief and that level headed mindset as you progress through your career, um, so that you can continue to improve and not let people drag you down. Because
Mm.
if you stay focused and continue to work hard and continue to do little things that got you to the point that you are, you will be able to continue to progress in your career. Um, so yeah, self-belief.
Self-belief. Well, I think that's also a message like for young players. They are starting right now. And did you like, let's say you have the possibility to speak with one player and he is right now maybe at the same moment as back then as you, and a lot of people or some people telling him like, hey, you're not good enough. Which kind of advice or let's say maybe trick would you give him to say, all right, here's maybe what I learned over the year. You can focus on these things and block out the noises.
Yeah, I think when you're in those in that time period, it's important to focus on the moment, focus on today, because it's easy when a coach might say, "Hey, I don't think you're good enough," or "You're not going to play," and then as a player, you start to play that back in your mind, and you think, "Okay, well, if my coach doesn't think I'm good enough to play, then I'm not going to play a lot of games this year. I'm not going to be seen a lot in this league, and then at the end of the year, I might lose a contract, or I might not get signed, or whatever." So you start to take one day and one comment from a coach and extrapolate it into, way too far into the future. So if you're able to accept that coach's message and internalize it and think, okay, he might think this way about me, but that's not going to define me as a player. And to really to take it one day at a time and to do the little things to, go into every day of training with the right mentality, continue to do the strength work off the field, continue to eat well, continue to do the right recovery, and all of the things that you need to do in order to be successful. Um, in the end, the cream rises to the cream rises to the top, as they say. Where if you truly are a good enough player and you truly stay at it, like you will show that eventually. And
Uh,
that's something I've learned through the years is despite going through adversity, um, I never stopped progressing. I never stopped showing up to training. I never stopped wanting to be better. And throughout that process, you find coaches who see that uh, see the potential in you, who give you the opportunity to sign a contract, who give you the opportunity to play in games, and then it's just it all it takes is one opportunity of
mm,
just seizing one opportunity that can change the course of your career. So never let one coach define you as a player, because there's a heck of a lot of coaches out there, and just as much control they have over your position, well, a few bad results and that coach might no longer be there. So never let um, one coach or one GM's opinion of you define who you are as a player.
mm. Yeah, that's powerful because I think a lot of player, especially right now, they are struggling with these kind of emotions and they give up too soon. And I think that's powerful to hearing from you after like let's say 9 or 10 years like as a pro. And I think that can help a lot of the young players. Like you mentioned before, also in your early career, you were the captain, and now you have also leadership role. What is leadership for you personally? How do you yeah describe it, or how do you see it?
Yeah, many people, many players lead differently. Um, there are a lot of leaders who are actively communicating, the cheerleader, motivating guys, really vocal. And I think it's important to have leaders like that. Um, I can be like that at times, but I see more of myself as a leader by example and like just being a presence. I'm 6'5", so without even doing anything, I have a certain presence about me, and I want to take that through trainings into games, um, to show my team that I can be a presence defensively, helping my team win games, win duels, clearances, and then also leading and directing my team. But further than that, I think mentally, I think I'm able to see the game well, and being a center back, my position, I see the whole field, and I like to analyze plays. I like to analyze things to put myself and my teammates in the best position to succeed. And so I think my ability to analyze the game has given me a role where I can help guys in certain situations where they might be unsure of, you know, how to defend, maybe positioning here, positioning there,
Mhm.
and I can talk them through the sequence of events to help them succeed. But I've always been a guy that I want to be consistent, I want to be reliable, and I want to show, my teammates how, kind of what the standard of the team is. And I always want to be, you know, at the top of the standard as a
Mhm.
leader. I want, it's easy once you get to a certain point in your career to take days off and not try as hard in training. You're established within the team, but that's not the type of person I want to be. And to be a leader and to be consistent, as a professional and in this league, you have to be at the top of your game every single day. So for me, I lead by example in training every day with my performance, um, my positive mentality, and my yeah, I think my way to analyze the game.
Mhm. Yeah, like what is very interesting is like I know you and I know you're very consistent also about the simple thing, training the simple thing over long period of time and being very consistent in training with high intensity. Were there kind of moments in your career you faced like big challenges and it was like hard to get in the consistency? How do you deal with these kind of moments and how do you get back to your consistency?
Yeah, well, throughout my career, there have been different workout programs. There have been different nutrition programs, different styles of play, all these things that have kind of changed over the years. And there have been times where I've shifted my nutrition, for example, and I've noticed, I was fatigued and tired and I wasn't able to perform as well on the field. And so through those moments, I have bad games, bad training sessions, really negative moments. And it's only going through that adversity where I'm able to self correct and figure out what I need to do in order to, for physically, for those, for the nutrition example, give my body the fuel that it needs to go out and perform the way that I know I need to perform in order
Mhm.
to excel. And so it's just been 9 years of trial and error where, once I found something that worked, I've continued to stay with that. And then as new information comes in, whether it's, earlier in my career, I would cramp a lot and I couldn't figure
Mhm.
out why. And I realized that, I sweat a lot, so I get rid of lots of sodium. So I found a program where, I can take a certain amount of electrolytes
Mhm.
before a game, and that's able to get me through. And so it took going through a lot of games where I'm cramping and having to manage through those games in
Mhm.
order to find a process that fueled my body properly, so that I was able to go and perform consistently, over time. Because when you have control of your body, you're able to then have more control over your mind. And when you have control over your mind, you're able to consistently perform and make decisions on the field without worrying about, your fitness, or oh, am I going
Mhm.
to cramp if I make this sprint? So then, in a game, these little decisions, um, can determine whether you give up a goal or whether you win the game or whether you make the tackle. So finding consistency has been a clear, that's been a path for me that I've taken, is, through it's really only through failing that I've been able to find what has worked for me personally.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. The last sentence is very nice. Only during failure you find the right way. And I think that's also where a lot of young players or let's say also pros, they fear failure so much that they get passive. What is your take on getting failure and learning from them to get better.
Yeah, it's back to that self-belief. If you believe in yourself, then any failure that comes is simply a blip in the journey, and it's a learning experience. So if you fail, you're able, you know, it's important to self-reflect and have awareness to figure out, you know, why did I fail? Was it because I didn't watch enough film? Is it because I didn't train well this week? I wasn't focused? You know, what was the reason? Was it my nutrition, or I didn't sleep well the night before the game? Because if you're able to pinpoint what the problem was, then you can correct for the next
Mm,
opportunity that you have. And the more problems you're able to correct, the more successful you'll be, because you get control. Again, you get control over your mind, you get control over your body, so that you're able to um, you know, go into each training session or into each game with the same preparation. And if you have the same preparation, you know exactly how your body will react to certain situations, and you know what you as an individual are able to accomplish when you're well rested, well fueled, strong, you know, all of those things that go into being a good pro.
mm. Yeah, that's a good point. Like control over your mind. What would you say? How important is the mind in football?
It's everything. It's more important than anything else. Um, I've seen guys much more talented than me who have come and gone, and their careers are over. You know, whether it be because they didn't take, you know, being a pro seriously, and you know that led to partying and injuries, and their body let them down, or whether that be through mental, you know, having a bad attitude, being negative, and you know, missing out on opportunities because of that. But yeah, the mind is the most important thing on the field, really. I think, I mean, if you look at the best players in the world, they're not the best players in the world because of their physicality, right?
Mhm.
Lionel Messi is the best player I've ever seen, and he's 5'6", and just his mind, he sees the game differently than anyone else. So it is extremely crucial to train your mind and to to study the game.
Yeah. Like in the last couple months, we worked together also like on these kind of things on the mind. If you could sum up, let's say, the difference between the Alex before the mental training and the Alex after the mental training, what would it be?
Yeah, I think, you know, Alex, after the mental training, has the tools and has the ability um, to self-reflect and then correct. So for example, if a mistake is made or there's a bad performance, you know, in the past, I would dwell on that mistake or consistently think about that performance, and then it would put myself in a negative mental cycle. And now I have the tools to, you know, be aware of that negative cycle and then stop it and put myself in a mental place where I'm able to, you know, like comprehend whatever the negative play was or mistake or game, and move on from it with the right mentality and the right mindset, so that one poor performance doesn't lead into many poor performances, right? Or one mistake doesn't lead to another, and being able to um, continue to progress in a positive way is something that I think I have learned over the last few months.
All right. What advice would you give, like, let's say, pro players, they are thinking about mental training, but they are not sure? Is there any kind of advice you could give them?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what level you're playing at or how successful you've been. Everyone has um, everyone has weaknesses in their mental thought process, and no one is perfect mentally. And if you're able to fine tune um, a few of those weak spots, I think it just helps you grow as a player and become more strong, um, which gives you the ability to, you know, be more consistent on the field, be a better teammate, be a better leader, and also just become more self-aware of yourself.
Mhm.
You know, it you're you're not just gonna, be perfect mentally after doing some training, but if you know the flaws that you possess, then you're able to counteract those.
Yeah. Do you have any kind of mental routine before training or some kind of routine you want to share with other players also?
Yeah, I think, you know, the most important thing is being confident in yourself and the preparation you've had. And so that's one thing I do is visualize for a game, let's say, I visualize the plays that I'm going to make, visualize the tackles I'm going to make. Um, Also, depending on the opponent, I visualize the way that they're going to press, so that in build up, I'm able to see the options before we go into the real game. And through that visualization process, it just gives me confidence
Mhm.
and confidence in my ability and confidence to go out and know what I'm going to do on the field. And so that preparation, it just helps with the self-belief and helps with the confidence, so that once I get to the match and get to the game, my mind is in the right frame of you know I have my mind in the right place, so that I'm able to just go out and play free because I've
Mhm.
done all the work beforehand. Um, in addition to the visualization, it's the preparation, both mentally and physically. So like, my nutrition, my sleep. Um, Once all of those things are completed and like my routine, I know that I'm ready. So I kind of like check that box, and then
Mhm.
it's to the game itself, and going in with that confidence, allows me to, like I said, play free and put together consistent performances when you're able to do the work, you know, and prepare in the same way.
All right. Mm, do you have any kind of advice for players their dream is to going into pro level, and which kind of advice you would give young players they are starting right now with the big dream and in their early stages?
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to realize a lot of people have that dream. A lot of people want to play pro, but only a small number and a small percentage actually get the opportunity to play pro. So you have to be honest with yourself, and are you doing the things to separate yourself from the rest of your peers?
Mhm.
Because that's your competition. So are you eating well? Are you recovering well? Are you doing the training that the team requires, but also doing extra training? And then, when you have an opportunity, um, you have to try your best to take advantage of those opportunities and show that you're deserving to be one of the small percentage of guys that gets to be pro. And this doesn't happen overnight. This doesn't happen in one game, one training
Mhm.
session, or even one season. It's doing that year in and year out through your first 18 years, or whatever the time period may be, in order to show that you are good enough. So I think it's a amazing dream to have, and you should strive for it, but be very honest with yourself. Do you want the dream, or are you willing to work for the dream? Because
Mhm.
everyone wants the dream, but very few are willing to put in the work that is required. Um, so be very honest with yourself, and understand that it's a journey, and it's not a one-time event. It's the work that you have to do year in and year out in order to show that you're good enough.
That was powerful. Thank you, my man.